Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I know it's been a while since I had a last release of a video. It's been a busy season for me just with life and also Unmatched. For those of you that were following the Summer of Legends 2022 tournament, I managed to finally take the dub in a tournament for Unmatched. I've got in the three tournaments that I've played in, I've gotten second, and first. So super happy about that. I would highly recommend catching the games back on the Unmatched Tournament YouTube channel, and I plan to release some kind of a highlights video here on my own channel. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, I hope to get back to making some more videos. And for starters, I have another puzzle video. So this is a situation that came up actually in a match of mine, not in Summer of Legends 22, but in Winter of Champions 2022, and I thought I'd share it with you guys. All right, and let's go ahead and hop in with another puzzle. So here we see Wukong versus Little Red. It is Wukong's second action, and he is attacking with this card with this clone. Now, it's a little weird how I have it displayed here, so I just wanted to go ahead and explain it. Wukong has one card left in deck, so 5 cards left total, and these are his 5 cards that he has left. Infinite Strikes, Rui Jingle Bong, and Taunting Laughter for attack cards. And then for defense, we have Golden Chainmail and Bewilderment. And then Little Red has a What's in My Basket on the top card of her discard pile. One card left in deck, which is Once Upon a Time. She has Into the Woods, What Large Hands You Have, Stones in the Belly, and What's in My Basket. So the question that I have to you is, can Little Red guarantee survival? And if so, how? If she can't, what has to go right for Wukong in order for him to secure a victory? So I recommend, if you're familiar with all these cards, pausing right here and taking a stab at it now. All right, and I plan to learn from my previous videos on basically kind of explaining all the cards. And for those of you that are maybe less familiar with the cards, you can maybe puzzle through it if you haven't seen these cards as much as some of the other viewers have. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. Just talking about Little Red, she has 3 symbols that can be in her discard pile. She has the wolf pelt, the flower, and the knives. And each of her cards do different things depending on what's on top. Most likely they don't do anything, or they do something if the right symbol is on top. And so we have What's in My Basket on top, which is a wild, meaning that it will do anything. So it counts as a flower, a pelt, and a knife. So we see Stones in the Belly, which says during combat, your opponent discards 1 random card. Add its boost value to this card's value. Very handy. And we do see that Knives is on top, so that will trigger if we choose to defend with it here. We also have What's in My Basket, which is the same thing that we have here in the discard pile. It's just a blank 4 that has a wild. We have Into the Woods, move Little Red up to 3 spaces and gain 1 action. And then we have What Large Hands You Have. You may return this card to your hand. Instead, you may return the top card of your discard pile to your hand, and that's of course if the the flower is on top. So it could grab this basket, it could grab any of the other cards in your hand as well. Now, hopping over to Wukong, we have Bewilderment, prevent all combat damage, and then you may place your fighter in any space. We have Golden Chainmail, any combat damage that would be dealt is dealt to the opposing fighter instead. So if I attack one of these clones with a 5, then I myself would die because it's a 4 value defense. I would then deal 1 damage to myself and die from that. Taunting Laughter says your opponent may discard 1 card from their hand. If they don't, ignore their card's value. And it's important to note that this is an immediately effect. Rui Jingle Bong, I hope I pronounced that right. I never am quite sure. After combat, if your opponent played a defense card, Tricked You, and the Tricked You is a second attack that is a 4 value attack. So basically, if I take it undefended, I'm good, nothing happens. If I do play a defense, I will need to play a second defense with at least a 4 value in order to survive here. And then we have infinite strikes. For each friendly fighter adjacent to the opposing fighter, increase the value of this card by +1 and then gain 1 action. This is the most dangerous card in this scenario, in my opinion. All right, and if you stayed for this point, I would also recommend pausing the video and puzzling through this now. All right, so let's go ahead and just talk about how to solve this. I won't necessarily give you the answer just yet, but we want to figure out, okay, what's Red's win condition here? So first, we just got to survive, right? So it could be a infinite strikes, it could be a Rui Jingo Bong, and it could be a taunting laughter. So if it's a Jingo Bong, we could take it and we could survive, but a third of the chance we'll end up dying. So I think it's fair to assume that we probably shouldn't do that. We're not going to take this undefended. So let's go ahead and talk through the different scenarios. If we defend with a what's in my basket, there are 3 options here. It could be a trick or Rui Jingo Bong, and so if that's the case, then we would need to defend again. And the only thing we can defend with in this case would be a stones in the belly. So we'd defend with the stones and we'd randomly hit one of these cards. Now, I want to kind of talk through basically when it's Red's turn, what is she going to do for victory, and we can kind of basically narrow, all the scenarios we have to play out with what stones in the belly is hitting out of the opponent's hand. So bear with me for a second. If on Little Red's turn, let's just assume that, all of her defense cards were somehow spent. I think that's a fair assumption to go ahead and make, that we're just working with these cards here. So if I attack this clone, and this clone either takes it undefended and dies, or plays Golden Chainmail, basically you can go ahead and, that clone will die or defend and stay alive. You'll go ahead and cycle hands, so you get it back. You'll play Into the Woods for 3 movement, go 1, 2, 3, and then you'll maneuver, drawing your last card into your hand, and you'll boost with hands to move 5 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Wukong cannot get to you, so he would have to maneuver twice and therefore die. So we know that Wukong has to defend, and he has to defend with a Bewilderment. And the reason he has to defend with a Bewilderment is because he has to place a clone over in this area so that he can get you and you can't run away. Now, I mentioned attacking this clone, which some of you may have thought it didn't matter which clone you attacked, but it actually did. You needed, for the secret for this puzzle, you will eventually find out that you need to attack this clone. But anyway, we can kind of talk about that later. So if, let's say, we hit a Bewilderment with our stones in the belly, we know that we've won the game, because as long as we can survive. So that's good to know. If we hit a Chainmail, can we survive as well? Well, let's think about that. So we attack this clone, and this clone hops over here with a Bewilderment defense. And then we find that because that clone has now left that area, it's important why we didn't attack this clone, we can now play Into the Woods to move 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3, and attack Wukong with hands. And since we're assuming we hit Golden Chainmail with stones in the belly, we know he has no more defenses, and therefore we kill him. So we've kind of worked through those different scenarios. So basically, as long as we can survive, if stones in the belly hits one of these defenses, we're golden. So basically what that means is you want to try to guarantee to get a stones in the belly effect to trigger. Now, that's not necessarily true. However, let's go ahead and for the sake of the argument, let's say that you defended with, we see here, you defended with basket. It was infinite strikes, so baskets gets discarded. Infinite strikes go here. You're now attacked with a taunting laughter. If you defend with stones, you basically have to discard immediately before your effect would trigger. So you'd have to discard something, and you don't have anything that has knives on it anymore. And so you would be taking 1 damage and therefore kill you. So it's important to figure out with this puzzle, all you have to do is find one magical scenario, no matter how magical it is, for Wukong to win, to disprove that red can win. So in that case, what we want to defend with is stones, because we only have 2 options. We either defend with stones or we defend with basket. And in that case, the basket ended up not saving us. So let's go ahead and just work through all the scenarios. I know it's a lot, but let's go ahead and hop right into it. So let's assume a Jingo Bong was thrown out. So now we discard one of the opponent's cards, and we know that if we discard either of these blues, we win the game. So we've just got to think through, okay, let's assume we discard something else. So for the sake of this argument, let's assume with the stones, we discard a infinite strikes. And then for the second defense, we are going to go ahead and we will play what's in my basket and throw that there. So that was the end of the turn. We know that the clones can only have 1 more attack card, which is Taunting Laughter. But we do know that the opponent could have a Bewilderment and a Golden Chainmail in hand, right? The opponent's hand could look, this could be the last card on deck. They could have 2 defenses, so we really do have to worry about that. However, we can go ahead and attack this clone right here with a stones in the belly. And so since we know that the opponent has to defend with bewilderment, the clone has to hop over here. If they don't, we win the game. So we're assuming that they do. And I discard whatever last card is in the opponent's hand. Then I can use Into the Woods to move up to Wukong and attack with hands. So I know I win the game in that scenario. And we know that even if the opponent doesn't defend with Bewilderment and they defend with Golden Chainmail instead, there are no 3 boosts left in Wukong's hand. So there's no way I could possibly die from this. And so because of that, I will survive, and then I can go ahead and run away to the opposite side of the map. So if he attacks with Jingo Bong and the first stones hits Infinite Strikes, that's how I win the game. If it hits Taunting Laughter, you can notice that we'll do the exact same thing and accomplish the same result. So if the opponent attacks through a Jingo Bong, I am safe. So let's go ahead and hop into the other scenario then. So if I'm defending with this and we see an Infinite Strikes. So once again, I will discard a card. And for the sake of this argument, let's assume it's a Jingo Bong. We're no longer assuming that these can be discarded, right? So then I'm fine, I'm alive. So this will go here. And then my opponent will attack me again. Now, so I know what the attack card is because an attack card was hit here. So I want to defend with stones again. And the reason for this is so that if my opponent is throwing out Taunting Laughter, I will have to discard a card immediately. But that aligns with my symbols. So now my stones in the belly will trigger, which will hit the last card out of my opponent's hand. Which means that I can attack this clone on my turn, play Into the Woods, hop next to Wukong, and then kill him. So I'm fine there with a Taunting Laughter. Now, if my opponent, as we saw from the beginning, attacked with Infinite Strikes, I defended with this. Let's assume Taunting Laughter is hit. If my opponent then attacks me again with a Jingo Bong, I can go ahead and take it. We know, the end result there. But, if we wanted to be a little cheeky with it, we could. What I mean by this is if they attack me, we know it's Jingo Bong. We know that all of his boost values are 2 that are left in his hand. So I could defend with what's in my basket for my first attack, then defend with stones in my belly. For the second attack, hit the last card out of Wukong's hand and do the same thing that I've been doing this previous turn. Now, yes, we ignore knocking out a blue card for the sake on my turn I could kill him. However, if we knock out a blue card, what if I die before then? So we want to work through all the scenarios if I don't know what red card is being attacked with, right? So same thing here. Let's assume either of these blue cards are hit. It really doesn't matter which one. And then I don't know which of these red cards are coming at me. And so what you can do is you can defend with this. Because if it's a Jingo Bong, you are still alive, and then you can defend the 4. And in the other case, we saw that you would starve Wukong out of defenses if you happen to play the other way around, or out of cards rather. And so we know that stones is a safe defense here. But let's go ahead and assume that it was the Jingo Bong. So we know that my opponent only has 1 defense left, since 1 defense was hit out of his hand. So then we can attack this clone. If he bewilders, then we can run in, hit Wukong. If he doesn't bewilder, we run away. All right, so we've nailed that down. So now we've just got one scenario left, and that is if my opponent attacks with Taunting Laughter. And so we already talked about it. I'm defending with Stones in the Belly. And so I have to discard my basket in order to stay alive, because I need Stones in the Belly to trigger in order to have a high value defense. We know if we hit a blue, we win. So let's assume we hit a taunting, a Jingo Bong. So I survive from that scenario. Then I have my actions. So if I go ahead and attack this clone, assuming he has the bewilderment, he'll teleport somewhere in this direction. Then I attack this clone. Assuming he has the chainmail, he will keep that clone alive. And now the top card of his deck is Infinite Strikes. Now, is there a way for him to kill me with Infinite Strikes? Well, Infinite Strikes is only a 2-value card, and I have a 2-value defense right here. So the answer to that question is ultimately no, which is good to hear, because if he attacks me, he'll have to maneuver, and then he can only attack me with 1 clone. He can't actually get adjacent to me with more than 1 clone, and so therefore I will go ahead and basically win the day in this scenario. Now, some of you might try and figure out, okay, maybe if he bewilders, maybe this clone here, right? So then he could do a single maneuver and trap me, right? And there's a number of different things. In that case, if he bewildered here, rather than attack the second clone, you can go ahead and play Into the Woods and go 1, 2, 3 up to Wukong himself. And then you'll notice that a clone is 3 spaces away. So if you attack him again, he can defend with chainmail. He can't get there. But rather than try and figure that out, you can also maneuver and boost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and get away from 2 clones as well. So this clone will need to be in a very central space in order to get to you with just 2 movement. So you can't actually pin red in. And I believe I've thought through all of these. If you find a hole in this, please let me know. I'd be happy to highlight you in my next video for finding that. So anyway, that is Taunting Laughter if we hit Jingo Bong, Taunting Laughter if we hit Infinite Strikes. We're in a fine spot because we know my opponent can't really attack with Jingo Bong, and because I'm under no threat of dying from that. So basically, I would double attack these 2 clones, assuming they have both defenses. With what large hands I cycle it. That's basically, I've drawn no cards. My opponent will have to draw last attack card and then attack. I take it. I can go ahead and attack with hands again, killing the clone. Maybe even hopping over to kill Wukong if I wanted. There's so many different options I have at that point because my opponent has just run out of resources. So at the end of the day, the answer to this puzzle is that Little Red wins. She can guarantee a victory if she defends with stones and is very willing and ready to discard basket or play basket depending on what the scenario holds. So Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. This one was an extremely difficult puzzle, in my opinion. You got to think through a lot of the scenarios. You got to kind of rule out some scenarios by saying, okay, let's just, figure out, okay, what red's going to do on her turn. And then, figure out, okay, we don't have to go through all the scenarios with each of the different defenses being hit. At the end of the day, I hit the bewilderment with my stones in the belly in this scenario, and therefore was able to attack one clone and then run away and win the game. So anyway, thanks again for tuning in. I know I just said that, but I like to say things twice. Um, anyway, hope to be back with some more content, and please let me know what you think of these puzzle scenarios. I've got a lot lined up, especially with some of the newer fighters, the newest set, Genie versus Houdini. My mind is already rolling with how to utilize them in puzzle scenarios, and I think they are going to I think they're going to have some pretty sweet puzzle scenarios aligned for them. So anyway, as always, please check out the other content creators on Unmatched. They're just great people and doing great things. So please go ahead and, subscribe to them and check them out. And I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.